A lot of the scholars agree that the first of the major signs will be the Mahdi. Who is Al-Mahdi? Al-Mahdi, literally in Arabic, Al-Mahdi means in English, the awaited one and the anointed one. So the chosen, awaited one. His name is Muhammad. You'll find this hadith in Sahih Muslim. Rasul says, his name is like my name and his father's name is like my father's name. So his name is Muhammad, the son of Abdullah. And he resembles the Prophet ﷺ not in his physical form, but in his character. Allah said about the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. You, O Muhammad, are on an amazing character. This is Allah witnessing to this. His character is perfect. This man, Al-Mahdi, will resemble the character of the Prophet ﷺ. And he said, he will rule and lead the Muslims until he transforms the world. يَمْلَأُهَا عَدْلًا كَمَا مُلِئَتْ ظُلْمًا وَجُورًا. He will fill it with justice and peace as it was filled with injustice and tyranny. So how many years did it take for the world to be in this terror and tyranny now? Al-Mahdi, in only a little while, in a short span of time, by the help of Allah, with his knowledge and with his ability, will change this state of the whole world from injustice to justice, from tyranny to peace, just as it was filled the other way. So the balances will be returned with the coming of the Mahdi alayhi salam. And the Mahdi, some scholars say he's born now, and others they say not yet. We don't know. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only knows this. But as I said before, the minor signs make it a possibility that he probably is right now here. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. We can't tell. The thing about the signs of the last hour is that we can never pinpoint them or describe them or give it a time or a time span exact, or to say, this is when it's going to happen or whatever. So we can't do that and pinpoint it. We can only speak in general. Al-Mahdi, as in Sahih Muslim you'll find this hadith, he will appear in Mecca, and the scholars will identify him with the descriptions that the Prophet ﷺ placed about him. There are certain features about him: wide forehead, big sharp eyes, a thin nose which is slightly hooked on the top. Al-Mahdi, they know his other signs. Some of his other signs are the following, so that no one can think Al-Mahdi is someone else. He has particular signs. They are all authentic narrations from the Prophet ﷺ. You'll find them in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim and other Sihah, the authenticated hadiths. There will be a group of Arabs from within the Jazira al-Arabiya, from within the Arabian Peninsula, somewhere near Mecca. They will hear about the Mahdi and they will not agree with him. They'll say he is not the real one. And they will come from an eastern direction of Mecca. They'll come in with an army to fight Al-Mahdi. So the first people Al-Mahdi will fight are Arabs who are under the banner of Islam, but they've erred, gone wrong. As they are approaching, a group of them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes the earth swallow them. They all die. And a group of them fight him, and Al-Mahdi destroys them all. Prophet ﷺ said he will fight offsprings of 2 Khalifas. And we've had many Khalifas in the past. We've had the Ottoman Empire, we've had the Abbasi, the Fatimi, we've had the Umayyad Khilafah, we have many different. And when he says the offsprings, meaning of them, Allahu Alam which ones exactly. But the first ones are Arabs. And Allahu Alam, they could be of the Abbasi or the Umayyad ones. And he said he will wipe them off. So the first are the Arabs. And the companions asked, O Messenger of Allah, what if among those Muslims who fight him are proper Muslims, but they've just erred, and they die within that battle like that? What's going to happen to them? Rasul ﷺ said, every one of them will be gathered on the Day of Judgment on the intentions they died for, even if they were with the wrong army. Next after that, so that's one of the first major signs of Al-Mahdi. The other signs of Al-Mahdi, Rasul ﷺ said, he will turn and fight an army that will also prepare an army against him in Al-Furs, Bilad Al-Furs, in Persia. Persia those days, today is known as Iran. Whether it will still be Iran that time or not, only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. But Rasul ﷺ told us in the Sahih Muslim that they will be an army from Al-Furs, will also prepare themselves to fight Al-Mahdi. He said he also wipes them off, meaning he destroys them. They have no more power, he disarms them, they no longer have any authority or ability. That's the second army, that's the second sign. Now here's the biggest sign. Then he said, he will fight the Romans, Ar-Rum. In those days, Ar-Rum had a different name to what we have today. It's a bit difficult to pinpoint them, but our scholars tell us, point towards the Europeans in general. And Ar-Rum, who are the Byzantines then, are today their offsprings are mostly the Europeans and their branches. How would this fight be? Well, the Europeans or the Romans, they will prepare themselves against this army. Because Al-Mahdi will come out with such force and authority and power to fill the world with the Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we can already see now how the fight against the Sharia is happening. So imagine someone coming to represent it with power and authority. What are they going to do to him? They're going to fight him. Before that happens, however, in some time, and I'm not sure which time that's going to be, scholars have differed about it. Rasul told us, "Tusalihun ar-Rum." You will unite alongside partnership with the Romans. Again, the Europeans. You're going to be partnership with them. وَتُقَاتِلُونَ عَدُوًّا مِّن وَرَائِهِمْ. You're going to fight an army, مِّن وَرَائِهِمْ, an army of theirs, of the Romans. So the Muslims will unite with the Europeans to help them fight against an enemy that's theirs, that's the Europeans' enemy, the Romans' enemy. Has that happened yet? Was it in World War I? Allahu A'lam. Is it yet to happen? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. Is it happening now? Some scholars said it's happening now. Helping them. Allahu A'lam, in what way? But the point is, tusalihun ar-Rum. There will be this treaty and you'll help them against an enemy that's theirs. After that happens and you'll be victorious, he said in some instance, and he even named the place on this hill, that a Christian will hold the cross and he will say the cross is victorious. And a Muslim will be angry about that because we would have been partnerships with them. Why are you now separating and dividing? He'll break the cross. They have a fight, the Muslim kills the Christian, the group of Christians gather against the Muslim, kill him, and a war erupts. So the cross will be risen. And it will be a war of religions, mainly Islam, Christianity, Judaism. That's what our Prophet ﷺ told us. With a little note over here so no one misunderstands me. It doesn't mean that the Prophet ﷺ is telling us, go and fight the Christians and Jews now, your neighbor. No. Islam is a religion of peace, and we don't fight people unless they fight us. But this is a fact. The Prophet ﷺ is telling us what Allah told him, that this is what's going to happen in the future. This fight then erupts, and a war between the Romans and the Muslims will happen. Romans in those days, Ar-Rum wal-Muslimin, yani between the Salibiyin, the Crusaders, the Christians, and the Muslims. Rasul called them Salibiyun, the cross worshippers, and the Muslims. Will be a fight between them. Some of the Muslims will leave the Muslim rank and will follow them. And if you look at it carefully today, the sifting between the Muslims is happening already. The Muslims will have that fight. Rasul tells us the Muslims will send out an army, a batch. It's not a big batch. Send them out because the sifting has happened and only more of the pure Muslims are left. Who is really going to fight for this deen on that day? Not a person who's materialistic. His heart will be stuck to the world. He's going to run away. He's going to fight and lose all that wealth. No, luxuries of the world. So it's particular special type of Muslims that will be standing up that day. And still among them, there'll be the weak ones. Prophet ﷺ called it Al-Malhamatul Kubra. And a lot of our scholars say Al-Mahdi will be leading this. The gigantic war, the gigantic combat. وَحَتَّى لَتَرَى الطَّائِرَ يَقَعُ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مِنْ شِدَّةِ الْحَرْبِ. You will see the flying object or the birds or whatever is flying on the outskirts of this war. It's got nothing to do with the war. It'll drop from the sky. It'll drop. And some scholars look at it and you can probably analyze it as being atomical warfare. Gases that make birds and objects in the sky fall. This is the hadith of Prophet ﷺ. فَتَفْنَ الشُّرْطَةِ. This batch of army will disappear. Tafna, fana means disappearance. Some scholars say they will have no essence. You can't find them. Their bodies will perish. That they'll disappear. Can't find them. They're gone. Muslims send up another batch. Same thing happens to them. The night departs between them, and fatafna shurta. The whole batch fades. It disappears. Third army. He says, finally, the rest of the Muslims of the world gather against them. All out jihad. He says they will fight so fiercely. And it'll be such a bloody war that it will end. And the Muslims will be victorious. But, he gives an example. If a family had 100 members in it, for example, there will only be one of them alive. The rest are all dead. He says, فَبِأَيِّ غَنِيمَةٍ يُفْرَحْ Ghanima is like when you're in war, you take the belongings of the people you've conquered. So it's called a ghanima, the booty of the war. He goes, on that day, Muslims will not rejoice over any booty, because what mirath is there going to be? He said, what inheritance can be given out? The families are all dead. The majority of people are dead. That's how fierce it is. He was saying, like, if a family had 100, one of them will remain living. So why will he be happy? And what kind of inheritance is going to look forward to giving? So the whole world has gone out of our hearts. That's what it means. There's no more clinging to the dunya at all. The only thing you look for is the hereafter. You want to meet your family in the hereafter. That's all it really is. And it's unfortunate that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has to take out forcefully this world from our hearts. The love of this world, the materialism, as it has crept into our hearts today, a lot of the people. Materialism in the sense that it is the priority, and deen is secondary, third, fourth, maybe last. That's what's happened. So Allah has to force it out in this tragedy in order for us to return back to our unity and to our strength. This is the only way we get our strength, through sincerity for Allah. And this batch of Muslims, this whatever's left, are the sincere ones. They're the sifted ones. In that war between the Romans and the Muslims, Rasul ﷺ tells us, this is another sign of the Mahdi's presence, an army from the Romans will take a different pathway from the main army that's fighting, and they will go around from the Sham, from the Syrian side. And a group of Muslims from Medina, Arabs, will go to meet them, to combat them, not to let them through. What they're trying to do is to come from behind and trap the Muslims. And this Muslim army comes out from Medina. The Prophet ﷺ said they are the best believers on that day, the most pious people on that day. They will fight. And those batch of Romans will say to them, we are not here to fight you. We're not coming here to fight you people who are born in a Muslim lifestyle. We have come to fight alladhina sabu minna. We've come to fight those who left our ranks. So what does this mean? Our scholars tell us this means that those who converted to Islam and left the Europeans and those people from Christianity or whatever religion it may be, and gone into Islam and joined the Muslim army. These people are going to come, he said, we are coming to get them who left us and betrayed us and left us, they say. And the Muslim Arabs who come out from Medina will say to them, Wallahi, but we will not let you through to fight our brothers and sisters. So they fight. A third of that army runs away. Rasul ﷺ says, Allah will never forgive them. A third will die. He said they are the best shuhada on that day, martyrs, and a third will gain victory. So that's another sign of the presence of the Mahdi. So as not to mistake him, Rasul ﷺ told us his signs so detailed to that point so that you cannot miss who the Mahdi really is. You don't bring up all this other stuff and claim to be Mahdi. Rasul ﷺ says, يُصْلِحُهُ اللَّهُ فِي يَوْمٍ وَلَيْلَةٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, يُصْلِحُهُ, He makes him proper, ready, righteous in a night and a day. What does that mean? يُصْلِحُهُ. Some people said, Allah gives him knowledge to become the most knowledgeable person in the world in one night. No, it's not necessarily what it means. يُصْلِحُهُ. He makes him ready in a night and a day. Al-Mahdi rules, as according to the hadith, for 10 years in justice and peace for the world. And there will be no more poverty. A zakat system will be applied so solidly that he said there will be no poor people. People will come with their sadaqah, with their charity and their zakat, and there will be no one to take it. No one's poor to take it. They'll say, no, I'm okay. See another person, he used to be poor. You go to see him, there's no poor people. That's the system which Allah created for us. It doesn't work completely now because the world's contaminated. You can't bring purity into contamination. You've got to get rid of the contamination for something to work. So our system is pure. Allah put it in. Contaminated, it won't work.